Join us today on the Final Hour podcast as we go through our Revelation timeline, the top 31 events in the book of Revelation.
We interrupt your program to issue a severe warning for an impending emergency making its way to your area. We urge you to be watchmen of the times and to be prepared with the essential knowledge and supplies for the wake of the final hour.
Welcome to the Final Hour podcast, coming to you from the original Living Word Christian Center out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. My name is Jim Hammond. This is John Gapp.
How you doing?
And we have Jeffrey Dupree as our producer. Jerry's short for Jeremiah. Jeffrey's his middle name. And so I'm excited for today. I was thinking about...
and we're missing Linnea.
Yes. Oh, I'm so sorry. A lot on my mind here.
Remember you.
Linnea is out of town. She's visiting her son in college in the South. So
She does not look like a person who is old enough to have a son in college.
No.
To be honest,
she does not. She does not. And so
she's so youthful.
She is, and she thinks she's funny. But anyways, so I was just thinking about something the other day. John and myself used to play. We probably played about 10 years of basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Do we do it at lunch here?
Yeah.
In the youth area, running up and down a cement floor isn't good for you.
It is not good.
Over 10 years time span.
It was so much fun though.
But I don't mean to brag, but me and John rarely were beaten.
Oh yeah.
We were rarely beaten. And I just wonder how many hours. This is if it's 2-on-2, there's
Right,
plenty of times
right.
you're in 5-on-5 or that. But sometimes there were less guys, so we'd play 2-on-2.
Yep.
And John's a post guy that knows how to pass and score. But I was thinking about that, but I was thinking, how many hours did I spend playing basketball with you? But how many hours did I actually spend coaching
Right.
Linnea? I was her high school coach from the 8th grade through her senior year. And you're talking about 7 months a year.
Right.
2 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week for 5 years. So a lot of basketball
Yeah.
between these two. But today, this global food crisis, it's coming.
Yep.
And I think we're going to see it. I think we're going to see it before Christmas, if not sooner. I think we're already seeing it here in America.
Mm-hmm.
This thing that started in 2022 it's a whole nother level. And the worldwide supplies are getting tighter and tighter. Droughts have been crippling the food production all over the northern hemisphere.
Yep.
There's fertilizers being used in less fertilizers being used in poorer countries because it's insanely expensive. And the war in the Ukraine has restricted a flow of agricultural exports out of, one of the most highest producing agricultural countries in the world.
Yeah. It was. Don't they produce like over 30% of Europe's grains?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just telling you, I would be shocked if it doesn't get real interesting here before the new year. A deal that was signed in July that allows hundreds of ships to successfully get out of Ukraine to the world, exporting that Ukraine grain to the world. And there was a deal. The Russians were letting all this out. They were letting it out. But now the deal's completely dead. And the Russians have blockaded all the Ukrainian ports again. So no grain is going out.
Right.
And so and this is not a good deal. It's just the reason the Russians did it. They did it for a number of reasons, but the main reason was because the Ukraine used some drones that it says were actually backed by British. What's the wording? British, British operators. They were assisted by British advisors.
Right.
So now we've got the British, got people just like the Iranians are operating these drones.
Yeah.
The British are operating these drones that hit these Russian ships out there, the Black Sea Fleet.
Mm-hmm.
And the Russians are saying the ships were to ensure that the grain ships got out safely. And you're going to do that. You guys violated the agreement. Deal's off. So all the Ukrainian grain is blockaded.
Yeah.
Now is blockaded. That hasn't happened yet. And so, the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization are reporting 70 million people are on the brink of starvation. Man. Okay, plus another 345 million people have been affected by the food supply chain issues.
Yep.
And so as these shortages continue to intensify, unrest will erupt around the world.
Right.
Our conditions, we've seen it a little bit.
Just a little.
But there's a couple things that this is why I think it's going to show up here.
Yeah, yeah.
75% of the areas where winter wheat is grown in the U.S. Are in drought.
Yep.
And so the winter wheat nearly 75% of the crop areas are in a drought.
Yeah.
Plus we've got a railroad strike coming.
Yep.
Okay. And it appears that the entire Western world may be dealing with these shortages because there's a diesel fuel shortage.
Yeah, that's one
coming.
of the main things.
Yes.
Even if there was production, the diesel fuel shortage and the DET, the treatment for diesel, which all of the diesel vehicles are required to use, that's in shortage as well. So it's compounding issues that continue. If there's one issue, maybe we can get stuff, get around it and flex. But when it's compounding issues, it's starting to be worrying. And obviously we're not telling everybody to go clear the shelves and panic, but just be wise.
I just, I've said it before. I think I'm not one of those 7-year preppers. But I think it's smart to have something.
Yep, absolutely.
And even water.
Yeah.
But this, for a few weeks, a month or two, maybe.
Yep.
But so this summer the avian flu killed 50 million turkeys in this nation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
the supposed avian flu.
And you can. Right. There may be some more digging on that. Actually, Linnea, and she's out of town. She still sent me an article from Des Moines. Let's see here. Sorry, I had it up. Des Moines, the KCCI CBS station in Des Moines, they're reporting that Department of Agriculture reports another 1.1 million egg-laying chickens will be destroyed in Wright County after the discovery of avian influenza. So another chunk.
Okay.
I mean, that's eggs are. That's a major deal.
Yep. And this is from a Final Hour podcast listener named Kathy Fish.
Yeah.
Called in, shared some pics with us that we're going to place on the podcast more info section. So you can view them if you go to the more info section. But you need to see this. she shared these. She has a customer that works for Super Value.
Yeah.
They got bought out by another company, and an employee that works in the warehouse in the cold freezer section said it's absolutely bare. There's no trucks coming in with food, and this is a supplier for Cub, Super Value, Byerly's, Lund's, and the food people like this are saying it's going to hit very soon. And as I mentioned before, she sent us pictures, and we'll have those for you to view.
Just racks and racks and racks of 3-level warehouse style racks, and there's nothing on them. Not a single thing. They're not. There's like one pallet for rows and rows of racks there.
And I just I guess. We're going to go into the first. Today we have 2 news sections and 2 teachings with the tribulation timeline. But I do have to say, is the date today the 4th?
It is the 3rd.
November 3rd?
Yep.
This is Thursday, November 3rd, that we're taping this. So it will air this coming Monday night or midnight, whatever.
Yeah.
So... what's Tuesday's the 5th, or excuse me, Wednesday, Friday's the 4th, Saturday's the 5th, 6th. It's going to air the 7th at midnight. Okay, so my daughter, I was told I need to start saying when we're taping, when we're airing.
Yeah,
and so this is the first 9 out of 31 events in Revelations. This is what we've done so far. Number 1, Antichrist rises. We have him on a white horse. I believe number 2 will be the 7-year covenant will be signed with Israel by the Antichrist. I believe right around the same time you're going to have 2 witnesses appear. Then you're going to have the second seal, which is the spirit of murder. Some scholars call it a sword of war coming on a red horse. Mm-hmm. Third seal, we have the scales of economic collapse and famine riding on a black horse. 4th seal, we have on a pale horse. 1/4 of the earth is killed. That's 2 billion people by hunger, death, and animal attacks. Seal number 5, many believers die as martyrs because many scholars believe it will be because there will be the biggest revival in history going on at that time. Number 6, you've got the worldwide earthquake with possible nuclear war. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you've got 144,000 Jews getting the seal of God on their foreheads that will further evangelize the earth. So just as a reminder, that was chapter 6. We had the first 6 seals, but Revelation chapter 6 ended before reaching the 7th seal. All right? While Revelation chapter 7 is talking about the sealing of the 144,000 Jews, you do not get the 7th seal mentioned until Revelation chapter 8. And so the 7th seal, Revelation 8:1, when he had opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of a half hour. All right? So obviously, you have silence in heaven for a half an hour. And with the 7th seal broken, the scroll is completely open. There's nothing to restrain the remaining judgments.
Yeah.
So everything goes quiet in heaven. Revelation 8:2, I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and whom there were given 7 trumpets. So here you have the 7 trumpet judgments about to happen. All right? After the 7th seal, going through the 7 trumpet judgments, what we're going to talk about today seems to be what most people think, that the 7 trumpet judgments will be between years 2 and 5 of the tribulation. Okay? Sometime in there. I'm not saying spread out.
Yeah.
We're going to go through those 6 judgments, but you have to understand from the Bible at about 3.5 years, halfway through the tribulation, we know the 2 witnesses are killed in Jerusalem.
Right.
Okay, you know those 2 guys that can shoot fire out of their mouths? I believe they're going to protect the tribulation temple.
Yeah.
We know that halfway through the tribulation, that because of the time that the Bible gives, you have the Antichrist defiling the tribulation temple. That's about halfway through. Mm-hmm. So all this is happening during the 6 trumpet judgments.
Yeah.
You have the 144,000 Jews that we read about that were sealed with the seal of God on their foreheads in Revelation 7. They're now fleeing to the country of Jordan, a place called Petra in the mountains.
Yeah.
So we haven't talked much about that. Let's look at this. Revelation 12:6. The woman fled into the wilderness where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,203 days. Okay, so
it's 3.5 years.
Yeah, we know they flee at 3.5 years.
Yeah.
So this is said, as I said, this is midpoint of the 7-year tribulation. Maybe I just need gloves to turn these pages, huh? The woman in Revelation 12:6 is an idiom for Israel. All right, and we have her fleeing into the wilderness. This is 144,000 Jews. This is where they go into a mountainous area in the Jordan desert called Petra. Mm-hmm. It's an abandoned city that was carved into the rocks of these mountains centuries ago.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of caves, and the 144,000 Jews are going to hide in there for the last 3.5 years. And you're going to say, well, doesn't the Antichrist chase them down? Trust me, there's diversions. He's a very busy man.
Yeah.
He's busy making war. And it looks like he is going to get him. And then someone attacks him here. Yep. We've talked about all this on another podcast.
Right.
And that diverts him, okay, from going after these Jews.
Well, in 144,000 is a small percentage of, the amount of Jews, even in Israel, but around the world. But, so it might not be the first focus, but as soon as they start zooming in, focusing in on that, then he's distracted by a different attack.
And also there might be an earthquake I'm just going over scripture. I don't have time that cuts off his army.
Yeah.
Around that in Jordan, because Jordan somehow stays out of the fray.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, but this is all backed up with Jesus calling this out in Matthew 24.
Yep.
Where we see the mid-trib 3.5 years in the Antichrist scholars believe two different things. He's going to come in and sit down in the temple. Mm-hmm. Others believe he's going to put an image of himself in the temple, okay, in the tribulation temple. That's the abomination of desolation that Jesus talks about, all right? Matthew 24:14-20. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, then shall come to an end. Verse 15, then ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place. Whosoever readeth, let him understand. And Daniel says more about that. Okay, it prophesies a lot about that.
Yeah.
Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to get his clothes. Woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray that your flight be not in the winter. Okay, so they're gonna run out of there.
Yeah.
Right. And most scholars think about half of Jerusalem will fall.
Yeah.
And also during the 7 trumpet judgments, you have the Antichrist being wounded. Okay?
Yep.
Revelation 13:3, I saw one of his heads, as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And some translations say all the world followed after the beast. So there's so many different takes on this, you guys. The reason I'm running through this timeline, even though we've talked about all these things in real detail, is because I've come across other details.
Yep.
And other interpretations. So these quick interpretations might differ a little.
Sure.
I've just studied more people with more opinions. And so than the earlier podcast, but this tells us the Antichrist will appear to be fatally wounded. And it will appear he has been killed. He's going to miraculously be raised from the dead, many believe by the false prophet.
Mm-hmm.
And this will just completely nail it down here where the world says, this guy is indestructible. He's not killable. Right. Let's follow this guy.
Yeah.
This is 3.5 years in. Interesting that this is just another attempt of the devil to copy Jesus.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I remember, scholars believe that the devil doesn't have the power to raise anyone from the dead. So many people think this is a big delusion.
Yeah, it's a big scam.
It's a lie. It'll be a setup, but the world's going to believe the lie. In other words, the whole thing's going to be staged.
Yeah.
And you have another event, and it seems if it's happening right around the middle of the tribulation, the 3.5 year point. You have this war in heaven. And I'll just tell you, we did a whole episode on this and on the war in heaven and Satan being cast out of heaven. People say, what? Satan's allowed in heaven? I believe he is.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he still is, just like Job.
Yep.
Just like he did, I believe it was 1 Kings. He was up there.
Yeah.
And
he's the accuser of the brethren, but it's I think you can see a lot of language in the Bible talking about basically a courtroom where one side is pleading one case, and for us Christians we have Jesus being our advocate.
Why would we need an advocate?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And so great point.
Yeah.
Great point. We did a whole episode on the war in heaven and Satan being cast out of heaven by Michael, the archangel, and his angels.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the old school guys think that suddenly, right in the middle of the book of Revelation, they're going to rehash through Satan being cast down the first time. Like cast out when he lost his angelship or whatever. Right? And suddenly it's if you look at it, the angel says, whoa.
Yeah.
Or the eagle, isn't it? Eagle, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yep.
Right? And I'm just saying, it's because this is not going to the first time. This is another time Satan's cast out of heaven. Yep. It's the final time. And if you go back to that episode, we did it when we were doing the trumpet judgments.
Yep.
This really does happen. Satan is cast out of heaven. Most scholars believe mid-trib to never be allowed back into heaven again.
Yeah.
And don't ask questions about this event I'm talking about writing in unless you previously viewed it. And you can view this.
Yeah.
We went into detail about Satan being cast out of heaven during the tribulation, and did really happen. Demon locust, the famous demon locust. I was so convinced that demon locust, that title, would go right into the algorithms, and it had the opposite effect.
Everybody's like,
and that thing just crawled along.
Demon locust, huh?
Yeah. But the number 19, I believe, 18, demon locust. It's called the title, Demon Locust, the Fifth Trumpet Judgment.
Yep.
Okay. So, from this point, we're going to go through the trumpet judgments quickly, describing them. And then we're going to end the podcast by giving that whole first 20 things, loose timeline, running through the whole thing. And you know what? I've said it so many times, I'm pounding it into you guys, that I could do a sermon with no notes at this point.
Yeah.
The seals, the judgments, the order. I've looked at this thing so many times, right? And it's really is. It's good for me. It's good for me to have it in my head like this.
It's so good to know.
Because even though we went through this stuff in detail,
there's just
4
so
months,
much.
6 months, it's amazing how much you lose.
Yeah.
And so back to our final set of news here. This is out of Wine Press News.
Yeah.
Oil refineries are suddenly, coincidentally, catching fire all over the world.
Yeah.
Oh, and nobody's asking questions.
So incredibly
it detailed a looming diesel shortage that is forecast to hit us hard.
Yep.
Just look at all this: turkeys, chickens, wheat, turkeys, chickens, wheat, drought. 50 million chickens or turkeys.
Yeah.
And then on now we've got these oil refineries going up in smoke all over the globe. There's a looming diesel shortage here.
Mm-hmm.
On Forbes on August 27th, a fire broke out at a BP facility in Indiana, prompting the U.S. Department of Transportation to instigate a regional emergency.
Yep.
For Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin. The facility refined 435,000 barrels a day, right?
Yep.
It's like, then in mid-September, 2 workers died in an explosion at another BP facility in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just happening in the U.S. And Reuters reported on October 17th, you had a fire breakout in a huge refinery plant in India.
Yep.
These last several days, a lot fires happening all at once. A refinery was temporarily set ablaze due to a reported lightning strike at a PDVSA refinery. A Petronas refinery and Petrochemical Corporation in Malaysia reported that an explosion occurred and that's coming out of Free Malaysia Today newspaper.
Right.
Just last night, a huge explosion broke out at CPC Dalian Oil Refinery in Taiwan. This is all at once. And it's just
it is too large of a scale to be coincidence. Just one after the other, after the other, after the other. It feels very purposeful crippling of the production line of the fuels.
It's the World Economic Forum. They're the ones that want us green.
Yeah.
They want oil gone.
Right.
Yeah. And it obviously the people doing this are the people that want oil gone.
Right.
Right? Because they want to control you. And I couldn't resist this, because CNN is actually saying this. So Biden claimed the most common gas price when he took over office was over $5 a gallon.
Which it is not.
They fact-checked him.
Yep.
Twitter, I believe.
Yeah.
Because Twitter's owned by a whole new guy.
Yep.
So that world's changed. We'll talk about that. It was $2.39 when he was inaugurated.
Yep.
So
the U.S. average.
Yes, $2.39 was the price, and that's another quick hitter. Bill Gates says it's good that Europe is in the midst of an energy crisis. It will force people to accept climate goals faster. That's the guy.
Well, and that's
the guy that's burning them up.
Setting it all up.
Yeah, it's one of those guys.
Yep.
This is what they want.
Yep.
He wants to force people to accept climate goals faster.
Yeah.
As they burn down the oil refineries.
No doubt about it.
You have earthquakes. 5.1 magnitude jolted the Bay Area.
Yep.
Late Tuesday morning. Caused significant damage. There were significant aftershocks also for that.
The guy I referenced a couple weeks ago, Dutch Since or Dutch Sensei, he's on YouTube. He's a earthquake guy, and he goes through for all of the different earthquakes that strike and what's going on. He was reporting yesterday there was a 6.0 out from Los Angeles. And it was interesting because he was showing how far out from Los Angeles it was, and there's a fault there, which makes sense. There's a fault and there's an earthquake. But then he also showed that the underwater data lines that go from Los Angeles to Oahu is right there where that was. And then this morning it's been reported that some of the underwater cables have been severed. They don't know if it's something with that earthquake or something else going on, but there's interesting earthquake things happening.
Yeah.
But you can watch Dutch Sense on YouTube if you want, but it's pretty interesting. Even some stuff going on in Arizona, but yeah, lots of earth moving things, volcanoes that are going up that have not been active in years.
And another thing, Jesus said there would be earthquakes. He said there would be wars.
Yeah.
Russia has just conducted their first nuclear weapons drill since its invasion of Ukraine, which is very, very concerning. Okay? Its first major nuclear drills, military drills, since the start of the war. All right? And, remember we reported, I think last week or the week before, Putin is claiming that the Ukrainians are seeking to develop a dirty bomb, put it on themselves, right? So the West says, bad boy Putin, you're using a nuclear bomb, right? And then the West gets into the fight. And so remember, it's crawling towards this guy, this Yuval Noah Harari, Harari. He's this creepy Jewish Israeli. He's from Israel, but he's a World Economic Forum scientist. He's bald. He looks like something out of a horror flick.
Yeah.
He says global elites have created a technological Noah's Ark to hide them from the coming destruction. If bad comes to worse, and when the flood comes, the scientists are building a Noah's Ark for the elite, leaving the rest of the world to drown. And this is top World Economic Forum advisor is saying this, that scientists and the upper echelon of the ruling class, and that's how they look at it.
They do. Yep.
Are around the world are preparing a technological Noah's Ark to protect themselves from the coming global collapse. They want the coming global collapse.
Right.
Okay? And so PayPal, just ridiculous. They've got language in their terms and conditions that allows them to withdraw $2,500 from your account each time they believe you promoted misinformation, or you sent or posted or published messages, content, or materials that PayPal doesn't agree with, that are harmful, harassing, obscene, and objectionable. But the question is, what do they call? This is a very left-leaning organization. Yeah. So I can tell you what they call misinformation.
Right.
All right? They deemed you had to promote messages that they objected to. If you do 10 times, they're going to give you 10 chances.
Right.
Or spread misinformation 10 times, they could take $25,000 from your account.
So I mean, they're not only their financial infrastructure that you can use to pay and to receive money, but now they're also going to monitor your social media. Wow! Like it's the private version of the disinformation board. The Ministry of Truth.
Well, I don't have PayPal because I don't have one of these. You can't have PayPal without one of those, right?
Sure. I mean,
or could you
use it on your computer. Yeah.
Well, I don't have that at home either.
There you go.
I have no Wi-Fi.
You're safe.
I have no cable.
You're safe.
So PayPal, they can't get me.
Take a long walk off a short dock.
Right. Yeah. And so, but listen, after the online, everyone freaked out.
Yeah.
And they called it a mistake.
That's
but they
correct.
waited 2 weeks. All right. Now the policies back up, and they're not kidding. All right. And Elon Musk bought Twitter.
Yep.
And so now one of the social media platforms is going to be freedom of speech.
Yep.
We believe. Okay. Looks like it.
So, some of Biden's tweets, and even there was a censor, Twitter employee that censored some of the Joe Biden stuff. That dude got fired, and Elon Musk was saying, "Hey, buckle up, because it's open. No passes just because of you're on one side of the aisle or another."
Yeah, and so that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
And so he fired someone who censored actually the Hunter Biden story. He fired that person, and banned this same person banned conservative accounts. Right. So is he going to let? You think he'll let our former president back on?
I don't know. I think he's letting it soak first. They are asking. There's a lot of people asking him. I've been trying to keep up. Musk has been tweeting like a madman. I mean, his obviously, he's got a lot going on. But there's a lot of current and former Twitter employees that are not enjoying his reign so far, but there's a whole lot of people that feel like all of a sudden there's a little bit of truth or at least the ability to have a conversation about tricky subjects. And, it's a different world with Twitter now.
Twitter fact-checked President Biden. See, this never happened.
Yeah.
This never happened.
No.
Before.
It did for Trump.
Yes.
Trump got fact-checked or at least censored all the time.
But now under Biden or under Musk, Twitter is fact-checking Biden, which has not happened. It's not it's not a fair and balanced media world. Right. Obviously, we know that, right?
Yep.
Social media world. And so Twitter has they've fact-checked and swiftly put up because they're under Elon Musk now. And so with Musk, what they did is Joe Biden received an embarrassing blow on Friday to his already tattered credibility. Biden was fact-checked by Twitter for inflating the number of corporations that were making billions of dollars and paying allegedly zero in federal taxes. Okay?
Yep.
And so he said 55 corporations paid zero in federal taxes that made $40 billion.
Yeah.
Okay? Twitter fact-checked him. They said, no, only 14.
Yeah.
So he's
right.
He's been caught twice now with the gas prices.
Yep.
And see, in the old social media world,
right.
Nobody.
No, it's a pass. They get a pass.
Yes, there was a pass. So
interesting connection between PayPal and Twitter. Elon Musk was part of the original development of PayPal, but eBay bought it out in 2002. So he's not a part of that anymore. But it's interesting that he is no longer involved in that company, and that company now has some real leftist ties.
Right.
And Elon Musk is no conservative. He's more of a libertarian, or like hey, just let's leave everybody alone kind of a deal.
Yeah, that is a libertarian.
Yeah. And so it's just Republicans and conservatives are like, hey, dude, live your life. And the left is just losing their mind over whatever he's doing with Twitter now.
Good.
Yeah.
And so Revelation 8:5, the angel took the censer, filled it with fire of the altar, and cast it into the earth. And there were voices, thunderings, lightnings, and an earthquake. Here we go. So just to give you some background, the Antichrist and false prophet rise to power, leading everyone to worship the Antichrist, which is basically Satan in a sense. Mm-hmm. At the same time, believers that have become believers during the tribulation, or maybe believers that didn't make it in the rapture.
Right.
That's disputed.
They knew the truth, but they didn't believe it in their hearts.
Or didn't live it out.
They didn't live it, whatever it is.
I don't know. I think people would argue with me on that. I tend to believe if you believe he died and rose again, you will be saved. Right. That's what the Bible says.
That's what Jesus said.
And so people are, if you're talking about sin, and they're living in sin. Well, okay, you're not. You don't worry. Mm-hmm. Do you speed? You go 37 and a 35?
Right.
That's breaking the law of the land. That's technically a sin.
Right.
It says in Romans, anything not done out of faith is a sin.
Yep.
Worry's a sin. Do you doubt anything? Well, doubt's not faith. That's a sin. Okay? You're sinning all the time.
Yeah.
And I can't find a sin scale in the Bible.
Mm-mm.
Okay? You won't say Jesus, let's say, this is the top 10 sins.
Yep.
Number one being.
Right.
Sin is sin.
Yep.
He died for that sin. If you believe he died for that sin and rose again, you will be saved. But there are many people that think, if you're not living right, okay, and I'm not promoting not living right.
No. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if you're not living right, then a lot of people are going to be left behind.
That
left behind.
All of a sudden you just lose your temper as as Jesus comes back, and all of a sudden you don't get to go because you were out of your mind for 5 minutes or whatever.
Well, that'd be a close run call for me. Okay. Anyways, we won't get into that. But
just leave it alone.
But these believers are going to be hunted down and persecuted. Okay?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, because of all the tragedy, all the disappearances, all the seals have now opened. People will be turning to God. They're going to be turning to that's why scholars think it'll be the biggest revival in the history of the world. But here's what happens. These people get hunted down and killed. And these people arrive in heaven and they're praying to be avenged. Isn't that interesting?
That is.
Well, if they can pray to be avenged, can I pray to be avenged? No, okay. We won't go into that. We won't go into that. They had their heads chopped off, right? So that's a little different. But if you read this, it's interesting. They're told they have to wait for them to be avenged until the number of saved people on earth is increased. This is what they're told when they get up there. So God responds by having this angel hurl this burning censer, possibly in the form of a meteor or a comet. And we're often running with the trumpet judgments. Revelation 8:6, 7 angels, which had the 7 trumpets, prepared themselves to sound. The first trumpet judgment is a hail, fire, and blood being hurled down upon the earth. Imagine after the seals.
It's crazy. It is a wild.
Didn't we just have an earthquake shake the whole earth?
Yeah.
And one of those seals?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's going to be kind of like a storm of blood, hail, and fire. 1/3 of the earth, of the trees, of the vegetation burns up. Okay?
It's not good.
Second trumpet judgment is like a huge mountain, it's saying, is on fire and it lands in the sea. A mountain. That's what John called it.
Yeah.
You have 1/3 of the sea turning to blood. 1/3 of all the creatures in the sea die, and 1/3 of the ships that are in the sea at that time are destroyed. Why? Because probably tidal waves and tsunamis.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, especially if it's a mountain, it falls into the sea. It might be something like a meteorite that strikes, and if that's the case, then tsunamis, vegetation, fish, sea life. All of that is threatened for sure.
Two opinions. Some believe it's a nuclear missile that hits the sea. Okay? Others believe it's a burning meteor that lands in the sea. Third trumpet judgment is described as a great blazing star. Looks like a torch falls from the sky. It's called wormwood. 1/3 of the waters on earth turn bitter. Okay? Yeah. Many people die from drinking the water. So it poisons the water. Wormwood poisons the water. And keep in mind, 1/3 of all the fresh water is poisoned. People are not going to be able to obtain drinkable water, so many will die from thirst.
Right.
Paraphrasing Revelation 8:12, the fourth trumpet, that angel sounds the trumpet. 1/3 of the sun is blocked out. 1/3 of the moon is blocked out. 1/3 of the stars is blocked out. And because, long story short, you've got a 1/3 reduction in light.
Yeah.
Okay, so everything gets darker, and this this hurts the crops.
Yeah.
This changes the weather. It brings on major winter storms.
Yeah.
Imagine how, if 1/3 of the light is gone at night, just imagine how much darker it is at night.
Yeah.
And so going on, the fifth angel sounds his trumpet, and there's a lot more to there's a lot to this.
Yeah.
Okay. But you've got these locusts that come out of hell, and we don't know how big they are. Are they little guys? That would be very imposing.
Yeah.
They look like horses in battle armor. Okay? They've got crowns on their heads. Their faces resemble humans. They have hair like a woman. Their teeth like a lion. Breastplates of iron, and their wings make a thundering sound like chariots going into battle. They have tails of scorpions, and in their tails they sting people. And you're basically in bed for 5 months. They cannot sting people that are sealed with the seal of God. Okay? And so a lot of controversy on this one. All right? Again, go to the famously named podcast, Demon Locust. Okay?
Yes.
And there's a lot on that trumpet judgment.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
It's just a lot. There's, people think, that John he was seeing a helicopter. Oh, really? A helicopter has woman's hair? Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
Like a lot of people say, that's a helicopter coming out of the ground. Oh, okay. No. These are demon locusts, in my opinion. The sixth trumpet judgment is the release of 4 demons who are bound at the bottom of the Euphrates River.
It's wild with the Euphrates drying up right now.
It's drying up right now.
It's drying up quickly.
Yes. And so these guys get released. They kill 1/3 of mankind. How do they do it? It says in Revelation 9:16, there's a 200 million man army, possibly a demon army. This is what kills 1/3 of mankind. This army goes on the rampage. It's controlled by these demons out of the Euphrates. These demons are controlling these generals. This is very, very disputed if this is a human army, an army of demons, or like we just talked about. Elon Musk says he has an army of robots to clean the house. He just said that.
Yeah.
I mean, could someone build an army like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So now notice, if you look at Revelation 9:17, it says the colors here on this army are fiery red, dark blue, and yellow. China's flag is red and yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the Chinese army wears dark blue uniforms.
Interesting.
China's the only country in the world that could put together an army that big.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of scholars believe, no. This is not the Chinese army. How are you going to equip an army of 200 million? It'd be who's going to equip an army at 10 million?
I mean, obviously, most of the manufacturing and stuff that you are buying around the world, especially Amazon, Alibaba, all of these, most of that production is in China. I mean, that's the biggest population in the world.
It's argued who's this 200 million man army. Right. But listen, okay, so as we close it down here, finally, right, the first 20 events listed in Revelation, okay, out of 31, loose order. Number 1, Antichrist rises. Number 2, the 7-year covenant is signed between Israel and the Antichrist. Number 3, right around that time, the 2 witnesses appear. Then you have the second seal, the spirit of murder, or the sword of war, sometimes that's called. Then you have the 3rd seal, the scale of economic collapse and famine. Then the 4th seal is 1/4 of the earth is killed by hunger, death, and animal attacks. 5th seal, many believers die as martyrs because of the huge tribulation revival. The 6th seal, worldwide earthquake, possible nuclear war. And then you've got the 144,000 Jews, 144,000 Jews that are going to evangelize the earth. And so I think, did I miss the witnesses here?
Yeah.
Okay, the witnesses come, they're number 3. The Antichrist rises. The 7-year covenant signed between Israel and the Antichrist. You have the two witnesses appearing apparently 12 days into the tribulation, right? 14 days in. And so, so I had to, sorry about that. I had to make a little addendum because I missed the witnesses. The fifth seal, many believers die as martyrs because of the huge tribulation revival. Sixth sealed, worldwide earthquake, possible nuclear war. 144,000 Jews that are going to evangelize the earth, get the seal of God on their foreheads. Then you have the seventh seal, which is silence in heaven for 30 minutes. We only do 6 of the 7 trumpet judgments. We go into the trumpet judgments. We're only going to do 6 because the 7th kicks off the bowl judgments, and we'll do that on this timeline next week. Most scholars that I look at believe that the trumpet judgments will happen between 2 and 5 years, 2 and 5 of the tribulation. Can we just look at this?
Yeah.
How wrong could this be? They could all be at one time.
Yeah.
All these trumpet judgments could be at one a day. Okay?
Yeah.
And they come after the seal judgments. And we don't know, do you get one trumpet judgment a month for 6 months?
Right.
Or do you get one trumpet judgment a week for 6 weeks?
There's a few of them. It looks like they could just be boom, 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 right in a row.
Yeah, you get 3 in a row and then have to wait a year. And then get, you know what I'm saying? So, but they could, and so.
And I think about time when it comes to Revelations, like the half hour of silence in heaven. I always wonder, because we talk about how for the Lord years as 1,000 years, 1,000 years as a year. Time is different in heaven, or can be different in heaven. It's just interesting, to see that, but we don't get a sense of time from this, aside from the measurements of 7 years and 3.5 years and so many days. But yeah, I very much look forward to not being here for those particular days when those are coming through.
I tell you what, if I'm wrong, if a lot of other people are wrong,
yeah,
I still have a plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyways, so coming. Meet me at church here, right? 7. So coming out of the 7 seals,
we'll get to it.
A hail, fire, and blood storm all over the earth.
Yeah.
1/3 of vegetation burned. A burning mountain into the sea. 1/3 of the sea is polluted. 1/3 of the sea life is destroyed. 1/3 of the ships in the sea are sunk. That's the number 2. Number 2, trumpet judgment. A blazing object strikes the earth, i.e. wormwood, poisons 1/3 of the fresh water on earth. That's the 3rd one. 4th one, sun, moon, stars darkened, all by 1/3. 5th one, trumpet judgment comes straight out of hell. You've got the demon-possessed locust. Kind of sounds funny, doesn't it?
It does.
Anyways, it won't be funny when you're looking at one of them buzz around. Yeah. Hopefully you won't be looking at one.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got the 6th trumpet judgment, 4 angels released. They oversee a 200 million man or demon army. Now, just quickly, as we know, I've talked about this, but during the time of the trumpet judgments, it's believed these things could happen. We've talked about which things could happen right in the middle of the tribulation.
Yeah.
You've got the 2 witnesses are killed. The Antichrist defiles the temple, i.e. the abomination of desolation. 144,000 flee to the mountains of Petra. The Antichrist is wounded and raised from the dead, and Satan is cast out of heaven. Mm-hmm. All these are filtered in there.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
I believe some of these we know are right in the middle of the tribulation.
Yep.
The abomination of desolation, when he sits down in the temple and says, worship me, right? The 144,000 Jews flee to Israel. That we know that's right in the middle. We know the 2 witnesses are killed.
Yep.
1,260 days. Yep. We know that.
Yeah.
So these events, they were either happening during the trumpet judgments. Could be. Think about this. What if the trumpet judgments don't start till year 4? Right. Then the things I just listed could be right ahead of the trumpet judgments.
Right.
Yep. And so.
It's the end of the end. It's like. It's going to speed up real quick. It'll be hell on earth.
But think about this. We've still got 11 events. We've just ripped off 20 events.
Yeah.
The first 20 events. how could it get any worse? We're in a sense we've got a whole nother third.
Yeah.
The world's got a whole nother third of this.
Right.
Right. And we're going to put this all together with the final 11 events next week. And so if you're listening to these podcasts, you should know this stuff well.
Yep.
Because I felt like it was the Lord that we go back through this quickly, right? And just give them an order, because we did not really put this thing in order. All right. And we did not talk about some of these things.
Sure.
These events. So we missed Linnea today. I hope she's doing well down there with her kid. And I enjoyed doing this with you today, John.
It was fun.
And again, we will be back. We will be back.
Yeah.
We will be back weekly forever. Forever. Okay. Thank you for tuning in to the Final Hour Podcast. God bless you.
Forever.